the Just Baseball Show. It is Tuesday, March 15th. For Monday, March 14th, Aram Layton and myself, Jack McMullen, went through a bevy of free agent deals for the first weekend after the lockout was lifted. It was lifted on Thursday. Things started to simmer a little bit, and then all of a sudden, the water was boiling, and it was popping over the pot, and there were flames everywhere because you had boiling water touching the stovetop. And now it's like your kitchen's on fire and the fire alarm's going off right now. There is so much shit happening right now, Peter Apple.
There is so much shit happening. This is the hottest the stove has been in I don't know how long. And it was funny. Yesterday, I was coming back from Ole Miss because I was down there watching the Ole Miss versus Oral Roberts series. And I'm through airports just getting constant alerts, new trades. And I'm trying to make TikToks like in an airport bathroom, in the plane bathroom, giving my picks like I would on Not Gambling Advice. But it's just been a flurry of moves and a lot of really interesting moves that I don't think any of us expected as well. So it feels like they're all bombshells because they're coming out of left field. Baseball.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday we had Minnesota go and get Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Ronnie Enriquez for Mitch Garver. We had Chris Bassett go to the Mets for JT Ginn and Adam Oller. And then we had Minnesota trade Chase Petty to Cincinnati for Sonny Gray and Francis Peguero. So we're like, okay, big deals. And then we upload the podcast, and about 20 minutes later, boom, the Yankees acquire Josh Donaldson, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and Ben Rortvedt from Minnesota in exchange for Gary Sanchez and Giovanni Urshela. What the hell? So let's explain why this could have made sense for both sides. For the Yankees, they go and get more immobile power. Good. Josh Donaldson can't run, hits homers. That's exactly what the Yankees like, right? And they also go and get Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to play short until Volpe gets up, and Ben Rortvedt, who has like a career 650 OPS in the minors, so he can platoon with Kyle Higashioka. So you have a below average catcher, an immobile power hitter, and an underwhelming shortstop going to the Yankees.
All right, calling him an immobile power hitter is such a disservice to Josh Donaldson. Josh Donaldson is in the 98th percentile, 99th percentile of average exit velocity, max exit velocity, hard hit rate, barrel rate. This guy raked last year. He's still a perennial power bat. Yes, is he not going to give you any speed? Of course not, but who asked for him to bring speed to the table? The Yankees signed Tim LeCastro. You know, they got
that's all the speed you need.
That's all the speed you need. So I think overall, you know, I made a TikTok about it. I gave the Yankees an A- and I gave the Twins a B+. I actually think, and you can say whatever you want about Gary Sanchez, is he an absolute hole in the lineup sometimes? Since 2020, he's hitting 187. But in 166 games, he has 33 home runs. He can be historically great through stretches as an offensive catcher, but those stretches are few and far between, and the Yankees just got tired of it. And I've been on the forefront of being tired of Gary Sanchez. I'm so glad he is gone. But as the Minnesota Twins, you know, Gary could, you know, find something in Minnesota. I don't think it's that bad of a move because I've been so annoyed with him, but he's still a fine catcher. He's still a starting catcher. And then Gio Urshela is a very solid middle infield option, can play third base. Obviously, that's his main position, and he's a phenomenal defender over at third, but can slot in, play shortstop for the Twins. I wonder now if the Twins' plan is Gio Urshela at shortstop. Maybe they move Jorge Polanco back to shortstop. He's probably going to stick at second, or do they just go say, fuck it, and they go with Trevor Story?
That's the big question here. There is a connection. Dan Hayes, The Athletic in Minnesota, mentioned Story was connected with Minnesota. If the Twins go and get Trevor Story, then they will have added Sonny Gray, Gary Sanchez, and Gio Urshela. That's a team that wants to contend right now. Gary Sanchez, you're right, an absolutely horrible defensive catcher. Like
terrible.
Like
people call Salvi the worst. He's the worst.
Gary Sanchez
is
worse.
The worst. Like he's bottom of the barrel too with those framing metrics right there with Salvi. And the thing is, Salvi has to play 162 games. Well, Gary plays like 130 and sucks. Like he is not the option. But for the Twins, you know, you're getting Gary Sanchez. Congratulations. Gio Urshela is probably better. But the thing is about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, where I'm going to push back on your thing, where you think he's going to be the starting shortstop. I almost think there's no possible way he's the starting shortstop. I still think they're in on Trevor Story. You know, they're in on Carlos Correa. I don't know what that means, but I'd be pretty shocked if opening day Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is the shortstop for the Yankees. It just doesn't seem likely to me.
I think Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is going to be the shortstop for the Yankees on opening day, because I've seen a lot of Yankees people, Brian Hoke was one of them, said that the Yankees' plans is that nobody impedes Anthony Volpe or Oswald Peraza when they are ready to become the shortstop for the New York Yankees. So when they're done with Scranton, they're going to the Bronx and they're playing shortstop.
The thing is, you know who I think is going to play shortstop next year, probably for the Yankees. I mean, maybe not. Maybe they're just done with Glaber at short, but Glaber Torres can play shortstop. And the only reason I'm saying that is because Isaiah Kiner-Falefa's glove is being called really good. And it can be good because of his versatility. But the reality of the fact is he finished with -7 outs above average. Among shortstops, that was one of the absolute worst. He actually had -9 outs above average at shortstop. Do you know who also had -9 outs above average last year at shortstop?
Who?
Glaber Torres. So he's not this huge upgrade. And maybe he is, maybe just last season adjusting to shortstop. He played 156 games at shortstop last year, and he was a catcher. Maybe he just needs an opportunity to play more at that position. But he played a full season and was not good defensively. So that's why I find it hard to believe that Isaiah Kiner-Falefa will be that guy for the Yankees. It's the New York Yankees. You think they're going to start Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at shortstop? The Rangers started Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at shortstop last year. But then again, the Yankees started Rougned Odor at some points at second base, and he was hitting third in the lineup. So, you know, maybe I'm completely wrong on that.
Yeah, noted lifelong Yankees fan Peter Apple saying, "Oh, the Yankees can't settle for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at short." Before I get to the good thing about Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, I do just want to say that a lot of guys who can play many positions are labeled as good defenders, even if they're average to slightly below average at those defensive positions. I wouldn't call Chris Bryant a really good defender anywhere, but he plays 6 positions. I wouldn't call Chris Taylor a really good defender anywhere, but he plays 6 positions.
Chris Taylor, I don't know. He's a good outfielder. Outfielder.
Is he a really good outfielder?
Not a really good outfielder. He's a good outfielder, though. And he's a good defender on the infield. I don't know if we put Chris Taylor in the same boat. I think Chris Bryant was a perfect comparison because he's not that good at defense, even at third base, his primary position.
But he can play 6.
I think that's a good one.
Right.
He could, technically, because he's a freak athlete.
That's the deal. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, the reason he can play 6 positions is because the Yankees are getting an absolute grinder who is committed to being a Major League Baseball player.
Yes.
He was blocked by Elvis Andrus in Texas. Yes. And he went to the Rangers front office and said, "What do I need to do to be a Texas Ranger? I feel like I'm ready." And they said, "Can you catch?" And instead of saying, "No, fuck off, I'm leaving," he said, "Hell yeah, I'll learn how to catch." And he learned how to catch, and he broke into Major League Baseball as a catcher. That's who the Yankees are getting. They're getting somebody who can swipe bags. They're getting somebody who can put bat on ball occasionally. And they're getting somebody who can play a bunch of positions because he just wants to be on the field playing Major League Baseball. And at the end of the day, I root for those guys 8 days out of 7.
How much worse is Isaiah Kiner-Falefa than Gio Urshela? Because when you look offensively, he is worse. He is a worse player, probably, but I don't think he's that far off from Gio Urshela. Gio Urshela had a great 2019, a great 2020, but a below average year offensively last year in only 114 games. Remember, this is a guy who was waived by the Blue Jays before coming over. When he was on the Guardians, he was not very good at the plate. And then he had this offensive outburst with the Yankees. Really awesome. He's had some big moments. He's a fan favorite because by all accounts, he's a phenomenal clubhouse guy. You know, he's got a great glove. He's kind of a glue guy for the Yankees, can kind of piece together problems that they have. But, you know, he's on the wrong side of 30 now. I don't know if Gio Urshela was a guy that we absolutely had to keep. And they're getting Josh Donaldson. Josh Donaldson rakes. And I know it's expensive. We're also getting rid of Gary's contract. You're getting rid of Gio's contract as well. And at 36 and 37, I don't love that I'm paying him that much money, but it's the Yankees. It's not my money. I don't care.
Yeah.
They want to go over the luxury tax. They should. They're the New York Yankees. They should be spending more money.
It's Hal's money. If Hal's okay with spending the money, then Hal's okay with spending the money. I will say that it's a lot of money. Over the next 2 years, Josh Donaldson is owed $42 million, and the Yankees are taking on all of that.
Exactly. right? TikTok. We're live on TikTok right now. Don't you guys agree? Don't you guys agree?
The price of winning is very high. Very, very high. You can watch Moneyball as many times as you want, but the reality is the Oakland A's have not won the World Series since Billy Beane has been the GM. Anybody that wants to wring the towel dry of all it's worth financially is not going to win the World Series unless you're Tampa Bay, because they somehow have a deal with the devil where they can bypass that. The Mets know they have to spend $300 million, right? Atlanta.
The Yankees should be in that same boat. Like, are you going to get outspent by your little brother, quote unquote? Not really little anymore, big brother now. Like, even in my Twitter comments, I got our guy, managing editor and host of the Locked On Mets, Ryan Finkelstein, just coming at me about the Mets and the Yankees and like bullying me. And I'm like, dude,
you know what? That's what Steve Cohen has done
to bully me right now.
That's what Steve Cohen has done.
And I do love it. I know I'm a Yankee fan, but I love it for the Mets.
You love it because it makes baseball more competitive. You need some of those MFers in ownership roles where they can dish the money out, because you've got the MFers on the field. You've got the MFers that want to win as many games as possible, but they're always working against the executives that want a penny pinch. When you've got somebody that is a bad MFer that says, I'm going to spend as much money as we need to win the World Series and I'm not stopping a dollar short, that is as exciting as it gets for a fan of that team.
I could give a shit about his tweets. I really could. I don't care about his antics. I don't care anymore. He makes baseball more exciting. He makes New York more exciting. I mean, I'm currently living in New York City. I'm so excited to go to Citi Field next year and watch these Mets as well as Yankee Stadium. I mean, if the Yankees get Freddie Freeman, which is not probable because we've seen rumors to the Blue Jays recently. We've seen the Rays send him an offer. We know the Dodgers are well within their rights to just go pluck him up. Max Muncy looks like he'll be ready for opening day, but the Dodgers don't really care. They'll put Max Muncy at second base. The thing is, then what do you do with Gavin Lux? But we're not going to dive into the whole Dodgers situation, but they can get Freddie Freeman with ease. So the Yankees are not a team that's automatically going to get Freddie Freeman at all, but I do think they're one of the front runners.
Yeah, Yankees are rumored for Correa if this news from Ken Rosenthal has any backing, any at all. Here's the rumor. Carlos Correa would entertain signing a one-year deal. I don't know if Carlos Correa would entertain that. I think it's more of a Scott Boras thing. Again, this is from Ken Rosenthal, article he wrote for The Athletic. The intricacies of that statement are that Boras would not get the majority of the agent cut if Correa signed a multi-year deal this year, because Correa switched to Boras during the lockout. If Correa signed a multi-year deal, the majority of the agent cut would go to his previous agency. If he were to sign a one-year deal, and then he were to sign a multi-year deal next year, then Boras would get the entirety of the agent cut.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, wait, what's the Star Wars theme music? It's like, yeah, it's like I can't really hum it, but my comparison to Scott Boras is Darth Vader.
You just did Here Comes the Bride.
Yeah, not even close to Star Wars.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that's Star Wars. George Lucas.
He is Darth Vader. I mean, that is so stupid. He's going to get a guy who's coming off his best season to date. Maybe not the best offseason, but offensive season, but one of them, and then his best defensive season. This is the year for Carlos Correa to get that 10-year, $300+ million. You and Aram were harping on the fact that he's going to get more than Seager. I'm unsure, but we're both in the same boat that he deserves $300 million. He already turned down 10 years, $275 from the Tigers. I have such a hard time believing that he's going to get a one-year deal. But Scott Boras at his force, like he's going to grab, like Darth Vader did in Star Wars, just grab him by the throat and be like, you're doing this, you're signing a one-year deal, and he might end up doing it.
So here's the thing. And I was just telling you before we record, I view it like this. Carlos Correa aced his contract year. You could argue that there has not been a better contract year in recent memory than what Carlos Correa just put out for Houston.
I'm trying to think just off the top of my head.
Maybe Chris Davis in Baltimore.
Maybe. I mean, the Platinum Glove winner. I don't know if he deserved it, quite honestly. I think Nicky Lopez had a better year defensively No, I'm not kidding.
Correa's got a hose.
By the
dude.
numbers, it wasn't all that close. I mean, it was kind of close, but Nicky Lopez, by the numbers, had a better defensive season. But regardless, Correa was phenomenal. I'm not trying to argue that. I mean, Correa throws 100 from shortstop, and he's a more talented defender than Nicky Lopez. So,
and didn't he lead all position players in WAR?
No, Trey Turner did.
Correa second?
No, I don't
or was
think
he
so.
down the barrel?
I don't have Fangraphs rolled up, but Trey Turner led all position players in WAR.
Okay. But Correa was
Ohtani did.
Correa. Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Correa was like top 10 in position players in WAR. Correa, I will say, had the best contract year in recent memory. He aced his contract year. So that's like going to take the ACT and scoring a 36 on the ACT and then going to take it again.
Exactly.
Why are you going to take that shit again? You just got a 36.
But again, look across the landscape of baseball. Who is going to give him $350 million? Because he wants more than Seager. Maybe he can be convinced. Be like, oh, next year, the shortstop position, it's not, with free agents. I think Trey Turner is a free agent next year, but I think he'll still be the belle of the ball. Actually, I think Trey Turner's a better shortstop. I do. I'd rather have Trey Turner on my team. But I still think Carlos Correa is obviously one of the best shortstops in baseball. Maybe he gets convinced that next year's free agency is better, not competing with Trevor Story, not competing with Corey Seager. But no, he shouldn't be convinced. Like, you should get $300 million this year.
Why not? But if he signs 1 year 60, the Reds can do it because the Cincinnati Reds have shed $60 million in payroll by getting Jesse Winker, Eugenio Suarez, and Sonny Gray off the books. They are on a free fall for no reason whatsoever. But Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez go to Seattle to make the Mariners so much better in exchange for one of Arm's favorite arms in all of minor league baseball and one of just baseball's favorite arms in the minor league ranks, lefty Brandon Williamson, righty Justin Dunn, Boston College grad, who is MLB ready and can be a starter for the Cincinnati Reds during the first week of the season. Jake Fraley, who you fucking love, and then a player to be named later who apparently is an impact prospect.
Bob Castasell, the team. What are you doing? What are you doing? You are ruining a team that can win now. They had the talent. You got the rotation. You had Sonny Gray, Luis Castillo, Tyler Mahle. You got Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo coming up, Jesse Winker, Nick Castellanos, Joey Votto. They rake, and Eugenio Suarez is probably going to have a bounce back year next year for the Mariners. I love it for the Mariners. But looking back on it, that's my take, that I don't think the Reds should sell. But in this particular deal, I do kind of think it's a win-win. Jesse Winker is going to go over to the AL West. Passan had a great tweet about, we know this, that Jesse Winker destroys right-handed pitching, cannot hit lefties. In the AL West, it's very right-handed dominant. I love the move for the Mariners. Also, Eugenio Suarez slots into third base. Toro, I don't think he's a starting third baseman for like a perennial playoff team. I think he's a fine player, but I think Eugenio Suarez, you can put him in the DH role. He's going to have some pop. My only thing is he's going from Cincinnati, which is an absolute bandbox of a field, to Seattle. I don't know how much the power is going to translate, but I do think he's got pop like nobody's business. But I just really love the move for the Mariners and Brendan Williamson. They are really loading up on some talented pitching prospects. Chase Petty, Brendan Williamson in a couple of days. It's kind of awesome.
In less than 24 hours. This is super exciting for Cincinnati. If you look at the future rotation, now the rotation could have won now, but with this return, you feel a lot better as a Reds fan than you did last night with the Sonny Gray deal.
It's really depressing, but at least like they didn't get fleeced or something, which would just be the absolute worst. If like they never got an impact prospect for Winker, or I don't know, traded Votto and got nothing, or traded Castillo and got nothing. Like, this was a good trade. I also like the Chase Petty move coming back for Sonny. So they're doing fine for their plan, but I think their plan is freaking stupid, and Bob Castasell, the team, should just get the hell out of here.
When you break camp in 2023 and you've got a starting rotation of Luis Castillo, Tyler Mahle, Nick Lodolo, Hunter Green, and Brandon Williamson with Justin Dunn as the 6.
You know what's funny though? We think that Luis Castillo and Tyler Mahle are going to be on the Reds. We have no idea.
Okay, so even if they trade both of them, now you set up for Lodolo, Green, Williamson, Dunn, and somebody else. Petty in a couple years.
And Justin Dunn, he's not great, but he's got potential. I like his fastball. I think he's a maybe not a 4, maybe like a good 5, maybe like an all right 4. I think he's a rotation arm. I know he can eat innings when healthy. He's got a high spin fastball, but it's only like 91. He's got all right stuff, and he's an all right pitcher that has the opportunity to get better. I just think it was a good move all around. But then again, I keep harping on this stupid Reds. What are you doing?
Yeah, stupid Reds. What are you doing? They stockpiled young pitching talent, which is cool. The Mariners are fully committed to winning now, and you just got a veteran bat in the outfield and Winker. Suarez is like a great power bat to have. I still think Bryant makes a lot of sense. I would prefer if Bryant was the starting, third baseman, and then Suarez is the DH.
They basically just got Chris Bryant and 2 players. So we were predicting Chris Bryant to the Seattle Mariners because he could play outfield when they need him to, and he could play third base. But then they just got their third baseman, and then they got their outfielder. And this Mariners offense in the outfield, Julio Rodriguez, Jared Kelenic, Kyle Lewis, and now Jesse Winker. But the thing is, Jesse Winker is a terrible left fielder. Like, no one's talking enough about that, how he's just an anemic defender in left field. He dropped so many balls to lose bets for me last year on the Cincinnati Reds. But that's why I love Jake Fraley so much, because he's single-handedly saved me games on the Mariners by robbing home runs. But yeah, I think Jesse Winker is actually going to play a lot more DH than I think a lot of people think. I think he might be the DH for them next year.
That's fine. You mentioned that the AL West is right-handed heavy. Let's go through the other teams in the division. Anaheim, Shohei Ohtani, and Noah Syndergaard are the 2 best pitchers. Okay, righty. Houston.
Well, Sandoval and Suarez are lefties, but those are the 2 lefties. But I mean, Sandoval's pretty good. Jose Suarez is pretty good, but you're not terrified of them.
No, and Detmers you're not terrified of yet. Houston, Verlander, McCullers, Luis Garcia, they're all righties.
And they have Framber, but they have Christian Javier and mostly right-handed.
Texas, as it stands now, John Gray, Dane Dunning, they're both righties.
Texas Rangers did not end up getting Kershaw. So, yeah, mostly righties again. And then, are we forgetting any teams?
Oakland's trading everybody. I mean, Manaea's not going to be there. Montes isn't going to be there.
That was the crazy part about Chris Bassett. That was why that trade kind of shocked me. I mean, we talked with Katie Wu of The Athletic. That was her guy. The Cardinals need to add starting pitching, and I really thought that Chris Bassett would move to the Cardinals, but now he's on the Mets, and I think the Mets have, if not the best, second best rotation in the league.
Yeah, I mean, the 1, 2, 3 is stupid.
The Brewers are still phenomenal, though. Like the Brewers are, they have Ashby at the end and Hauser. Like, those are really good arms. I prefer those 2 arms over, honestly, Hauser and Ashby or Taijuan Walker and Carrasco. I know those other names are much bigger, but
I love Adrian Hauser. Like Hauser and
Ashby. Yeah. So I think they're, Woodruff and Burns are almost as good as Scherzer and DeGrom. I mean, you put those 2 against those 2. I mean, really any team can win. And then I'll take Freddie over Chris Bassett. So
yeah, but I'll take that Mets offense over the Brewers offense.
Oh yeah, definitely taking the Mets offense.
Definitely.
Speaking of which, interested in McCutchen.
Yep, I saw the Brewers were interested in McCutchen. Still doesn't make them better than the Mets. Speaking of which, bad injury. Well, you've got some injury news here, and then another thing. Thank God he's okay on the Mets side. Pete Alonso T-boned, car flipped, according to John Heyman. But Alonso said he was okay. It was super scary. Everybody in the car was okay. That's one of those things that could have been so bad, but it wasn't so bad. And wow, we're thankful for that.
Wow, thankful for that. That I saw that pop, on Twitter, and it pops up and it's like Pete Alonso got in a car accident, and my heart dropped.
Yeah,
like actually dropped. It was like, you should be feeling those feelings whenever you're in baseball, but I was visibly shook. I immediately clicked on. I'm like, oh, thank God. And then I made the TikTok immediately, basically just kind of relieving myself, like making sure Pete Alonso was okay. But he is going to be okay. And we even had a TikTok comment Do you still think with the Pete Alonso injury, is he going to lead the league in home runs? Very confident he's still going to lead the league in home runs.
Yeah, absolutely. Another injury, Fernando Tatis Jr. broke his wrist. He's out 3 months.
Which one?
Which one? With the motorcycle accident.
That is not good.
Yeah, that came from Jesse Rogers. Yeah, he was asked
I really
when
don't
did the
like that,
motorcycle
honestly.
accident happen this offseason, and he said, which one?
I really, really don't like that. And I'm never going to tell a player how or what to do their job or what to do in their off time. That's definitely not my place at all. But I have to say that as Fernando Tatis Jr., I've said I think he's going to win the MVP. I think he's going to improve on defense. I think he's the number one player in fantasy baseball. When we talk on our fantasy baseball podcast, not gambling advice, I've been all over Fernando Tatis Jr. I've been willing to, risk the injury concerns for him. But now, Fernando Tatis Jr., you are the face of baseball. You have rules that you have to abide by that not a lot of other players do. Like, you are representing our sport and you're off like riding a motorcycle. Come on, bro. Like, please just stay in the game. You make the game so much better. We need you in San Diego at shortstop for as many games as possible. And we're not going to get that. And we're probably not going to get Fernando Tatis Jr. probably till June.
Yeah, this is going to have a terrible ripple on the Padres because it's either Ha-Sung Kim as your starting shortstop, which fine defensively, but he is a liability and a half offensively, or you rush CJ Abrams to the big leagues, which is absolutely brutal. If I was AJ Preller,
do you think it's a complete rush to get him up soon?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he missed the overwhelming majority of the year this year. He broke his leg.
I know, but he's such a freak athlete that I feel like maybe, but because the speed already plays,
he's not ready for big league pitching.
Yeah, no, he isn't.
He's not. So if I was AJ Preller, here's what I'd do. I would go get a bench shortstop. I would go get somebody like Nick Ahmed via trade, and I would go have him there until Tatis got healthy.
Because Nick Ahmed, I mean, I just laughed there, but he is one of the best defenders in the sport still at shortstop. Maybe even Kevin Newman from the Pirates.
I'd go get somebody that just buys you 3 months.
Exactly.
More so than Ha-Sung Kim.
I prefer, I don't know about the Padres, like I'd prefer the best defender possible because they got plenty of pop throughout that lineup. Just get the best defender and lock down the left side of the infield when you have Machado at third. And yeah, I like what you're putting down there with Nick Ahmed or possibly even Kevin Newman. I know those are probably the two least sexy names of all time, but I think they could be valuable contributors. Yeah, you don't need sex appeal. You have plenty of sex appeal on the mound. And then across the diamond, I mean, the Crone Zone, there's nothing sexier than the Crone Zone.
Crone Zone's hot.
But also, you hear they're aggressively shopping Will Myers and Eric Hosmer.
Well, I could have told you that. I could have told you that in day 5 of the lockout.
I just thought it was so funny, aggressively shopping. Who in the hell would buy them?
I don't know.
Will Myers.
Cincinnati.
Colorado.
Cincinnati's becoming the joke now. I mean, it was Colorado until Cincinnati just shed $60 million in 24 hours.
It has to stay Colorado. They're interested in Chris Bryant.
Yeah, that's God. As a Chris Bryant truther, that would be my worst nightmare if he was a Colorado Rocky.
But he would hit 350 with 50 jacks there.
Yeah, but like it's Colorado. Like that means I have to watch Rockies games.
I know. I would though. I do like watching German Marquez. Like I'll turn on a Rockies game.
Yeah, that's one every 5 days. KB's gonna play every day. I gotta watch KB every day. We haven't even talked about the A's continuing to go scorched earth. You talked about Bassett going. I mentioned that they might depart with absolutely everybody. Montes, Manaya, Chapman, Laureano. They already got rid of Matt Olson. Matt Olson in exchange for Christian Pache, Shea Langoliers, Ryan Cusick, and Joey Estes from Atlanta. That is a massive haul. We think it's not a great haul at Just Baseball. Shea Langoliers is pretty solid. Estes has some possibilities there. Aram is totally out on Christian Pache. That makes me the majority out on Christian Pache. And Matt Olson is a thumper. But what this means for Atlanta is that the Freddie Freeman era is over. And oh my God, that sucks.
Terrible. And we saw Alex Anthopoulos, the GM of the Braves, choking up visibly talking about the deal. You know, Freeman's a Boris client. It's clear that it became business over family. And Freddie Freeman's most likely not going to be an Atlanta Brave, which is a crazy sentence to say. After winning a World Series, he won an MVP in 2020, and you're not bringing him back. You're not bringing him back. That is heavy. But Atlanta, the roses are red. The roses smell amazing because you just got, besides Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the next best option at first base. Matt Olson is a phenomenal defender at first base, and he had a top 10 offensive season last year. And remember, this is a guy hitting close to 40 home runs in the Coliseum. Coliseum's enormous. And to have his kind of offensive stats there, incredibly impressive. The swing is amazing. And he's an Atlanta Brave. And just to go back into the package for a second, I don't believe in Christian Pache's bat. I'd love to be proved wrong. I'm sure everyone at Just Baseball, whenever we harp badly on a player, we always love to be proved wrong. Whenever we call a player really good, we really want to be right. But if we call a player wrong, we're totally fine being wrong. But I don't believe in it. Shea Langeliers, when I interviewed Tucker Davidson on TikTok Live, I was asking about the Braves catching situation, and he said he's one of his favorite to receive. He loves Shea Langeliers behind the plate, and Shea Langeliers has a little bit of pop too. But that also goes to show me, though, Sean Murphy might be available from Oakland as well. And then the two pitching prospects, I think, are two of their best pitching prospects in their entire system. So it was a haul, but the Braves did phenomenally there.
Yeah, they were thin. Braves were thin on the mound because a lot of their young talent is already up, right? You look at Soroka, you look at Aiden Anderson, you look at Fried, you look at Inoa, right? Kyle Muller just came up too, and Tuki Toussaint. They're still trying to figure out what the deal is with him. And then Tucker Davidson, obviously up as well. So there were a lot of guys that came up already, and Estes and Cusick were a couple of the guys that were left over. But going from Freeman to Olson, you lose all the heroism, right?
Mm-hmm.
You lose all of the leadership that Freddie Freeman has, but that's not a big drop off in production there at all. Freddie Freeman's 32 years old. Matt Olson is 27 years old. And oh, by the way, he's from Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, that's the big thing that I feel like not a lot of people, I mean, personally, like I didn't know Matt Olson was from Atlanta, but it makes all the sense in the world. We just did our ultimate draft on Friday. You picked Matt Olson in front of Freddie Freeman, and the goal was to win a championship, as many as you can, in the next 5 years. For the next 5 years, Matt Olson will most likely be a better offensive player than Freddie Freeman, even though I still think Freddie Freeman is the freaking GOAT first baseman for all that he's done, the pedigree, the MVPs, the World Series, the clubhouse, the leader. He's still the best first baseman in baseball in my mind until proven, different. Obviously, Vladdy is insane and more talented. And Vladdy will most likely overtake him next year. And even Matt Olson could overtake him next year. But I still love Freddie. But again, Matt Olson. What a replacement. I mean, come on now.
It's the best replacement in baseball.
Seriously. I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
My team on that ultimate draft also got fucking bodied. Did you see the vote?
I destroyed you guys.
Yeah. I got absolutely bodied. I like my team though. I did
like your team too. I didn't think you had a bad team. All of our teams were so good. Our teams were so good.
Couple things, just rapid fire before we wrap up. Free agent news. Nelson Cruz, 1 year, $15 million deal with a mutual option for 2023 with the Washington Nationals. I tweeted last night that Nelson Cruz just wanted to hit behind on-base machines, Juan Soto and hitter Adrianza. They're both going to have like a 600 OBP. So
I love that tweet. And another funny tweet from our guy, Ryan Finkelstein. He says, Juan Soto and Nelson Cruz in the same lineup. Is that still better than most of the teams in the National League, like those bottom dwellers? I mean, those two guys. I mean, Nelson Cruz. Also, another question for you. Nelson Cruz is currently at 449 home runs. Do you think he makes the Hall of Fame? Or do you think he hits 500 home runs? He's a roids guy. Probably won't end up making the Hall of Fame, but I think he's got 500 home runs in his future.
Yeah, those are two different questions. I'll say no to Hall of Fame, yes to 500 home runs.
Kind of impressive. Nelson Cruz, 500 home run guy.
Super
kind
impressive.
of awesome. It's kind of awesome.
Absolutely awesome. The Phillies, after signing Jerry's Familia, signed Brad Hand to 1 year, $6 million.
Good job. It's exactly what Philly should be doing right now. I mean, they need an outfielder. They need an outfielder. Mickey Moniak and Vierling cannot be the answer.
They went and got Odubel Herrera again. Damn it.
And he's like a bad guy, isn't he?
Yes.
Not a good dude. What are you doing, Philly? Bring back McCutchen instead. But I still think the Phillies now, Chris Bryant seems pretty likely to the Phillies. The only problem is they have Alec Boehm, but they have the DH now and they can kind of do whatever they want. Because Alec Boehm he was not good defensively over there at third base for the Phillies last year. I think the Phillies are on the forefront of Chris Bryant. I've heard Kyle Schwarber connected to the Phillies. I've heard Michael Conforto. I mean, Mets fans and Phillies fans alike, they know that Michael Conforto rakes at Citizens Bank. And so that could be a good fit over there. It could also steal some of the thunder from those New York Mets. But I do think Schwarber will be the guy to go to Philly or Chris Bryant. And that's my take on that.
I like it. I think Schwarber.
You think so?
I like
you think Schwarber? I do too. I think Schwarber's going to be the guy to go to Philly.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense for that lineup. And I think Schwarber and Harper in the same lineup would be hilariously fun.
Thanks. But there's so many more free agents still left to be signed. Nick Castellanos, Seiya Suzuki.
Correct.
We're in for another. We're gonna do this again tomorrow. Like this week might just be all free agency. I mean, what else are we supposed to do, people? We supposed to play GM with the Rockies right now? We got to talk about free agency.
No, I said that as a joke yesterday, so that means we're never doing it. Ian Kennedy to Arizona, 1 year, $6.5 million. What are they doing?
They're gonna turn those. You said it perfectly before pre-record. They're gonna turn two. Oh wait, did you say this? That they're gonna turn these two guys into 4 prospects in like a couple months?
Yeah, they just decided to pay, however many $1 million for 4 months of the services of Mark Melancon and Ian Kennedy, and then they'll go get 4 prospects in return at the deadline.
Once it's 9-4, they're losing in the 7th. It's gonna stay 9-4.
Yeah. Yes. God.
Not gonna be 11-4.
No, man. That run differential is not going to be that bad.
The stat people are going to be like, wait, the Diamondbacks could have a good year next year.
Top bullpen in baseball? The Arizona? Really?
I hope they keep them.
Brad Boxberger. Speaking of good bullpens, Brad Boxberger in Milwaukee.
How hilarious is that? We gave him to about 30 teams that are playing GM episodes, and then he just ends up going right back to Milwaukee, where he belongs. I mean, Milwaukee's bullpen is still so legit. I'm glad they retained him because Hader, Williams, Boxberger, yeah, big 3. Boxberger's that good. I freaking love that dude.
Yeah.
And Jake Diekman got signed.
He's a Red Sox.
He's a Red Sox. Fired up for Jake Diekman. Another guy we've been giving out to everybody. Jake Diekman. Shout out Jake Diekman.
We can't end on something as not sexy as Brad Boxberger, so we got to talk about Tim Britton of The Athletic. Getting this quote from Jacob deGrom. He said he plans to opt out after this season. Don't sound the alarms. Jacob deGrom was never going to take his, what was it, $25 million, $30 million, because he wants 40. He wants a billion years for $1 billion.
He just saw the 37-year-old version of him get $43 million. And he's on the team of the guy who has a limitless wallet.
And Steve's going to do it.
And then he's going to sign for $50 million and just break all of baseball.
I'm in.
I'm in too.
All right. What else? If you care at all about the NCAA tournament, if you feel like you want our help filling out a bracket, go listen to today's episode of Not Gambling Advice. I was the guest, so it's awesome.
Was the guest. And I'm going to give it up to Jack McMullen. Jack McMullen could make his own college basketball podcast and have similar, if not even better analysis than what he can do on baseball, on college basketball. The dude's a freaking genius, gave us so much good stuff. So go check out Not Gambling Advice. We're dropping the podcast episode. It will be available at the time you're listening to this episode as well. Also, you can check us all out on YouTube. Of course, I just want to refresh Twitter one more time, because with these kind of moves, like something could just go in, like Chris Bryant could have signed with Japan or the Diamondbacks or something like that.
Well,
Colorado might be going for him.
While you do that, let me just say that was very sweet of you to say about the college basketball thing, even though my bracket sucks every year, because I think too in depth about each of these things. And then all of a sudden, like the 4 seed that I picked to be out in the first round is in the Elite Eight. I'm like, all right, shit.
That's why this is the most impossible thing in the world. Like Jay Billis's bracket probably gets destroyed too, but I think Jay Billis is one of the best college basketball minds I've ever heard. Like, it's impossible to have a perfect bracket. That's why none of these guys ever do. So it's all about the analysis, and then you got to make your decision. But you can hear all of that on Not Gambling Advice, and you can find that episode in our episode link description. Also, Just Baseball merch. I'm talking to you people on TikTok. Look at the hoodie. You see the hoodie?
Merch.
What are you wearing? What does your shirt say? Urban Chop House?
Urban Chop House. It's Urban Meyer's Steakhouse in Columbus, Ohio.
Urban Meyer, huh?
Yeah. I got it after his Jaguars incident.
Buy low, buy the dip.
Have to.
I just wish there was more moves, and there's going to be so many more moves tomorrow. Let's just go through people who are left before we end it. Correa, Freeman, Seiya Suzuki, Nick Castellanos, Kenley Jansen,
Chris Bryant, Trevor Story,
Ryan Tepera, Andrew Chafin.
More trades are going to come too.
And more trades are going to come too. The Blue Jays are interested. I mean, the Blue Jays still want Jose Ramirez.
Let's go with this baseball thing, man. This is so fun.
And with that, thank you, everybody.